did. Good morning, everybody. I am going to welcome everyone joining us for our Planning and Works Committee meeting on December 5th, 2023. I will now call on the Regional Clerk, Will Short, to conduct the roll call.
Thank you, Chair James. Chair Redman.
Present.
Councillor Craig. Councillor Deutschman. Councillor Erb. Councillor Foxton.
Present.
Councillor Harris.
Present.
Councillor Hunig.
Happy Tuesday.
Chair James.
Present.
Councillor Liggett. Councillor McCabe. Councillor Salonen. Councillor Verbanovic. Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Councillor Williams. Councillor Wolf. Present. And we have regrets from Councillor Nowak. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I would like to acknowledge that the land in which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Chinanton people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements, and the contributions to the community. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to start with a presentation for the Grand River Conservation Authority Watershed-wide Wastewater Optimization Program recognition. So we have some guests in the audience today. The overall goal of the program is to improve the quality of the Grand River by reducing phosphorus and ammonia from treatment plants discharging in the Grand River watershed. Each year, the GRCA celebrates those wastewater treatment plants in the watershed that meet performance-based criteria, including voluntary targets for phosphorus and ammonia through a formal recognition program. This year, I am proud to receive gold recognition for the outstanding performance of the Preston Wastewater Treatment Plant. Preston is one of only 2 treatment facilities out of 30 treatment facilities in the watershed to receive this highest level of recognition for meeting and exceeding the recognition criteria. Additionally, Ayr, Heidelberg, Kitchener, and St. Jacobs Wastewater Treatment Plant receives silver recognition, and the Waterloo Wastewater Treatment Plant receives bronze recognition. These letters of recognition demonstrate the region's ongoing commitment to meeting a high treatment standard for effluent water quality that discharges to the Grand River watershed. For more than a decade, the region has made significant investments in wastewater infrastructure, renewal, and process upgrades, which has greatly improved the reliability, operability, and treated water quality of our facilities. Together with the Ontario Clean Water Agency, we continue to focus on process control and optimization activities that aim to maintain and continually improve this high level of treatment performance, which ultimately improves the health of rivers and communities within the Grand River watershed. And now I'd like to welcome Mark Anderson, Water Quality Engineer from GRCA, to say a few words.
Thank you, Councillor James and members of the Council. So that was an excellent overview of our wastewater optimization program and the excellent work that the region has done over the years and the recognition that they've achieved. And I'd like to say thank you on behalf of myself. I also manage the wastewater optimization program, so I'm speaking on behalf of the program, and as well from the GRCA's perspective. So the region has been an active participant in our optimization program since its inception in 2010. And as you just mentioned, Councillor James, the region has made significant investments in wastewater improvements that are now showing real and measurable positive benefits for the watershed itself and the river and everything that lives in it. Being able to meet the voluntary targets to achieve these recognition levels really involves the work of a large number of people, including the skilled operators from the Ontario Clean Water Agency and Kyle and his team. And as well, they're making good decisions based on good data every day. So it's a day-to-day operation. as well as support from senior management like Jennifer, Mary, and Tammy at the region, and decision makers like the people around this council chamber. So thank you. The recognition letters acknowledge the leadership of both the council, the engagement of the region and Mary, Jennifer, and Tammy, and the operators at the Clean Water Agency who work diligently every day to ensure that the effluent that's discharged from those wastewater treatment plants is of very high quality and it has positive benefits for all of the residents of the watershed. So once again, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. I think we're going to get a quick photo with everyone. Okay, we'll now move on to delegations. I would like to remind all delegations of some guidelines for participation. For those who are joining us in person, please proceed to the podium when you are called upon to speak. Please press the button on the base to turn your mic on. If it's green, that means your mic is on. For those who are joining us electronically, please leave your video camera turned off or your microphone audio muted until you are called upon to speak. You will have 5 minutes to speak. If you conduct yourself in any of the following manners, it will result in immediate removal from the meeting, interrupting councilors, staff, or other delegations, derogatory statements about councilors, staff, or others, turning your camera on at inappropriate times, and any hate speech or defamatory comments. Our last reminder to delegations, if you do not take offense if there are no questions or follow-up, some of what we're doing is listening to better understand and reflect upon what's been said. With that, I will call upon Tova Davidson, Executive Director, Sustainable Waterloo Region. Good to see you again, Tova.
So great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really happy to have this opportunity to come and speak to council today. And I'm here to speak in support of the LRT into Cambridge and the plans to bring it into the Ainslie Street Terminal. As you know, Sustainable Waterloo Region works in the areas of community building, prosperity, belonging, inclusion, all through environmental sustainability. And this plan for the LRT is a great example of doing exactly that. I know there's been a lot of conversation in the community and around horseshoes like this about this LRT expansion, and I think it is actually a vision for the future that we're trying to build as a community, not just in the environmental movement. When we look at what happened when we built the LRT from Kitchener and Waterloo connections, we saw economic prosperity begin, and we've seen that actually start in downtown Cambridge already. There are developers and investors who are now coming to that downtown knowing that the LRT is coming here, knowing that it's going to bring a lot of prosperity, a lot of tourism, going to bring a good connection, make traveling across the region easier, and make it a simpler, faster, more comfortable way of traveling. It also mitigates some of the challenges that we face coming down Hespeler Road. If we think about the number of people we would need to accommodate if you were to make it a car avenue and have no good, fast, accessible transit options, that would be a challenge for our building of infrastructure. I want to remind Council that this actually is very, very well aligned with the very first action of the Transform WR strategy, which was unanimously approved around this horseshoe. And the first thing we need to do is to encourage active and public transportation. That is the number one thing we need to do, with about half of our local carbon footprint coming from transportation alone. This connection, this investment in light rail transit, and specifically going right into a downtown, is an essential part of how we're going to build that future. And that future means belonging, it means inclusion, This rail line, to me, means that we are actually creating connection across this region, and it's something that I think we desperately need. For us to all feel like we're part of one community is a really important thing, and this is a signal that that is the case. I'm also super excited about the things that it can bring into downtown Cambridge, the strength of community, of events, of bringing people from the rest of the region into that area. And I just encourage you, and I just want to applaud the direction. So I'm just here to support, and thank you so much for your leadership on this and the direction you're taking.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tova. I do have a couple of questions from councilors. Councilor Deutschmann.
Ms. Davidson, thanks for coming in. I see you head up Sustainable Waterloo Region, and I note on the website that one of the items is a more just and equitable community. And as we've seen with Phase 1, there's been significant displacement of individuals from low-income housing, affordable housing. So has your group put some thought to what we can do to learn from the lessons of Phase 1 to ensure we apply them to Phase 2? And if you have, I'd love to receive some of those suggestions for consideration.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Deutschmann, and through the chair. I actually love this question. I'm so glad you asked it. I think anytime people undertake a project, it's our responsibility to learn from what went well and what were the unintended consequences of that project. I would think that a really important thing to do here is to have some guidelines around the station area planning to allow for accessible housing, subsidized housing, and places that allow for the community to stay locally connected. I think part of the planning of the transit system that works around this expansion of the LRT must include making sure that all of the areas around it are accessible and that we're not actually creating sort of exclusive high-income areas and everyone else gets pushed out. And that can be through housing options, through accessible housing policy and regulation, and well-connected transit to encourage people to come in and to not have to push out into those areas. So I love that question. Thank you for thinking that way.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to reach out to you so we can have a chat about some more discussion on this idea. Thank you for your comments.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Councillor Deutschmann. Chair Redmond.
Thank you, Chair James. Tova, I just really wanted to thank you for coming in and reminding us the interconnectivity of everything. I think of our strat plan, I think of the pillars, I think of an inclusive community, I think of a well-connected community, and really do appreciate your insights in this, so thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you for coming, Tova.
Thank you.
Next, Dan Clements, Citizens for Cambridge.
Dan Clements from Cambridge, representing Citizens for Cambridge. Citizens for Cambridge is a group of citizen volunteers applying both thought and effort to better our community in progressive ways. We are not experts, but doing research and listening to experts is at the core of our volunteer work. Thank you to the planning staff for this Cambridge Terminus report. We fully support its conclusions, and we urge council to support its recommendations, but also urge that the hard work that is still to be done proceed without further delay. A finished LRT will connect our region from one end to the other and make it even more of a juggernaut community with boundless potential for generations to come. We really like the Ainsley Street Terminus option a lot because it's a shorter route. It's the closest station suggested to Main Street. It provides more support for the Galt's core businesses. It's within easy walking distance to Craig's Crossing pedestrian bridge to the Gaslight District. And of course, there's the inherent connections to buses and transportation. There will be cost concerns about the Cambridge LRT, of course. We know that. We suggest that rather than a sunk cost, the Cambridge LRT is an investment. It's an investment for an exciting future for Cambridge and for Waterloo Region. The Cambridge Chamber of Commerce suggests that the investment in the LRT on Hespeler Road will return economic benefits many times the initial investment. The Cambridge LRT is not for me or my generation. It's part of a terrific vision of what Cambridge and the region can become for future generations. And what about the investment by developers and businesses in the Cambridge downtown core? That's another element of investment. The LRT will bring more people to downtown and recognize that investment. The downtown Gulch revival is happening now with investments from developers. But developers are investing partially because of the LRT. Some key downtown Cambridge developers we've spoken with have said that without the LRT, their investing in our core renewal will cease. We understand and respect that the Cambridge LRT is a steep hill to climb, but please keep going without delay. And so today we ask you to stay the course, be aggressive and relentless with current and future challenges. Don't allow the project to get sidetracked by last-minute objections and roadblocks. We've been working on this for over a decade. Let's get it done. We want to thank regional staff who have spent thousands of hours in research, design, and an extensive review process for the Cambridge LRT that have led us to where we are today. Thank you and well done. In closing, you are our elected leaders. We urge you to be the leaders who leave a legacy of finishing the LRT and not the councillors who left it incomplete. We urge you to pursue the right thing for future generations in Cambridge for our region. Thank you very much for listening and considering our input, and we really do appreciate the support we've received from the region to date. So keep going, keep on keeping on, as they say.
Thank you, Dan. You have 1 minute and 20 seconds to spare.
I can talk long. I can keep going if you want. No.
I do have a question from Councillor Pam Wolf for you.
Through you, Madam Chair. Dan, I just wanted to say how proud I am of the Citizens for Cambridge and the work that this group of dedicated, optimistic, intelligent group of people bring to so many initiatives in Cambridge. And I'm very happy that you're behind this one. And thank you for coming. And I was kidding with Colleen that today we have 3, I think, delegates from Cambridge, which we will all listen to very carefully because you'll be able to get your point across without having 20 people saying the same thing. So anyway, thank you again for coming and for all the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Redmond. Don't go anywhere yet, Dan. Chair Redmond.
So Dan, I just wanted to thank you for highlighting the letter. We all have it in our correspondence that the signatories are Greg DeRocher and Ian McLean, the president and CEOs of respectively the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. And just really reflect one of your comments is really, we have a great LRT, but it's half an LRT. So keeping on, as you said, I think is very, very important. So I appreciate your input and the leadership that goes right across the region supporting the completion of this, and as Tova said, the inclusion of our entire community. So thank you very much for continuing to be a champion and bringing some certainty to your view as part of the community.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for your advocacy, Dan. Okay, next we have Brian Kennedy, Executive Director, Downtown Cambridge Business Improvement Association. Welcome, Brian.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here in person and to see you all face to face. On behalf of the Downtown Cambridge BIA, I'm here today to share our support for staff's recommendation on stage 2 of the ION, with the preferred south terminal location being the T1 Ainsley Street location. I also want to share our gratitude and thanks to staff who prepared this report and council for their concerted efforts on this very important item. Ainsley Street Terminal is currently a transit hub in downtown Cambridge and the proposed home for the future of the South Terminal for LRT. It makes perfect sense. This transit hub services our core area and is accessible to those in our community on the other side of the river in West Galt currently. We have had our sights set on LRT to Cambridge for quite some time, and much investment in the core has happened with this in mind. Seeing the success and prosperity in other parts of the region with Stage 1, we know the vast potential LRT can ignite for changes in areas of Cambridge for the better. Stage 2 ION is a crucial investment for attracting more businesses and people to Cambridge and to the region. Not only does it stimulate growth in our local economy, but it also supports affordable housing efforts, accessible access to public services, and better connectivity through the entire region. Historic Galt, downtown Cambridge, is growing. We have seen several high-density developments underway, and there'll be more to come in the coming years that will change the way people move through our city and our region. LRT is an investment in Cambridge's future. It contributes to strong, healthy, sustainable communities for the next generation, and downtown Cambridge deserves that investment. I just want to thank you again this morning for your time and consideration on this item, and thank you again to staff who prepared this report. It's very appreciated. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. I see no questions from councillors. Councillor McCabe, go ahead.
Thanks. Sorry, I buzzed in a little late, but through you, Chair, thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious if you could speak to, like, we've heard a couple of different opinions about where the terminus should be, one in a different area of Cambridge. So I'm wondering, I mean, obviously, I think you probably prefer it to be in the downtown Galt area, but I'm just wondering the benefits of that over some of the other, like, the other areas that are under consideration. Can you speak to that, or maybe that's...
Well, I mean, I can certainly say that our sights are set on downtown Cambridge and the growth that we're seeing in that area. With so much development happening, it is vital that we connect our community and find a very seamless way for people to be able to commute for both events and work throughout our region. And so in our mind, there is no other location besides downtown Cambridge in the historic Galt area. Certainly which location in the downtown was up for consideration, and we think the findings in the staff report make sense. Anywhere outside the downtown did not seem to make sense with our membership, and so we can't really speak to why that was considered. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you again, Brian, and thanks for your advocacy. Mackenzie Meek, Planner, Project Manager, Cambridge Mill. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hold on a second, Brian. I didn't see Councillor Craig. You had a question?
I just wanted to, through you, Madam Chair, just say thank you very much for coming and advocating for the downtown. Now that you're trapped at the podium, I have a question to ask, which is relative to the downtown and the truck diversion. What is your impression so far?
So, I think we have seen a difference. It's not quite as drastic as I think some people were anticipating it to be right off the hop. I think we all I think a lot of us understand that this is quite a tremendous shift that needs to happen, and we do need to have some grace and latitude as this gets enforced. But certainly there is still quite a few trucks on the downtown roads.
So
but we have seen a difference.
So it's a work in progress.
Of course.
Yeah, we're
100%.
working on it, just so you're aware.
Wonderful.
And I think the BIA's got to be aware of that too, that we're, the staff are completely cognizant of what's happening, okay? And we're going to improve it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, Mackenzie Meek, Planner, Project Manager with the Cambridge Mill.
Thank you, Council, for your time today to hear my delegation regarding the Stage 2 Iron South Terminal Preferred Location Report. My name is Mackenzie Meek, and I'm the in-house planner and project manager for Pearl Hospitality, including the Cambridge Mill. The Cambridge Mill has now been in operation in Cambridge for over 12 years, and it's become deeply rooted in the fabric of the Galt community. The purpose of my delegation today is to confirm the Cambridge Mill's support for the proposed light rail transit project in Cambridge, and more specifically, the staff recommended Terminus location as outlined in the Stage 2 report. We firmly believe that the Cambridge LRT is not only a want, but a need for the continued growth of the Cambridge community. As highlighted in the report, the project aligns seamlessly with the region's strategic plan, prioritizing accessibility to housing through higher order transit and promoting new housing and businesses along the LRT route. The initiative is more than just a transportation project. It's a catalyst for the continued transformation of Cambridge into a vibrant community that residents and businesses want to reside in. Moreover, I wish to highlight the important relationship between the LRT project and Cambridge Mill's proposed Cambridge Mill Hotel and Residence project. The proposed hotel and residence is planned to bring significant commercial, accommodation, and housing into Cambridge, contributing to the economic growth and vitality of the downtown and region. The proposed project is anticipated to bring over 300 long-term jobs to the region. All aspects of the project is intricately linked to the convenience and accessibility of the LRT to downtown Cambridge, and would especially provide support for the significant employment opportunities that will be generated by the Cambridge Mill facilities. As part of the Cambridge business community, we are not alone in our enthusiasm for the LRT. The report reflects the grounds of support from Cambridge residents, Cambridge businesses, and community leaders, all united in the shared vision of a more connected and accessible city and region. The LRT is not just a transportation solution, it's an investment into the future of Cambridge. We commend staff for their evaluation of the Terminus locations and endorse the recommendation of the location T1 at the existing Ainsley Street Terminus site. This location not only optimizes functionality, but it also aligns with the location of the Cambridge Mill facilities, both existing and proposed. In closing, we want to thank you for your consideration of our delegation. The LRT projects and recommended Terminus location will undoubtedly shape Cambridge and the region, making it a more vibrant and economically robust city. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. I have two councillors who have questions. Councillor Craig.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Mackenzie, again, thank you for coming. Just a quick update on your project, where it's at, what we can expect, because, you know, the project is very exciting for the downtown area. And yeah, I think it would be good for council to hear exactly where you're at and why you're such an advocate for the LRT, which is, yep.
Yeah, for sure. Given the scope of the project, there's many approvals and processes that we have to work through, which is what we're doing right now. So we've made a lot of big strokes since we got our approvals in 2021, and we're currently working through the site plan approval stage of the project. And again, as noted, especially with the amount of employment that's anticipated with this project, we really see the LRT being an important factor into Cambridge, with the jobs being produced as well as the residences that we're planning on constructing.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. And if I may, as a bit of an aside, for public information, the mill is quite connected in a number of ways to the bridges across the way. And I believe you're hosting a dinner at the mill for the people who are living at the bridges over Christmas. So I think people should be aware of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. Chair Redmond.
Thank you, Chair James. This is really a scary moment because Councillor Craig and I are on the same page, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming in and highlight the historic relationship you've had with Cambridge Shelter Corporation, its employment, it's been community gardens, and really your outreach has been very significant. So it's great to see that you're continuing to be an economic driver and presence within downtown Cambridge, but you also are a very caring community member. So thank you on behalf of the community for what you and Cambridge Mill do.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie. We're just one big happy family today. I'm going to invite Nathan Whalen to come. Thank you. And Nathan, you have 3 minutes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Chair James, members of committee, staff, and members of the public. My name is Nathan Whalen. I'm a resident in Preston, which is located in Cambridge, as you know, and I'm here today to talk about using what's number 7.1.2 on your agenda to actually spur the development of the Cambridge Go train line. If you can go to the next slide for me, please. Today, my husband and I travel into Toronto 2 to 5 times per week minimum. It takes us about 1 hour to, on a really bad day, 1 hour and 45 minutes or so to get to Union Station area. If we were to take current transit, it would almost always, from my house in Preston, take 2.5 to 3 hours, if not more, and with multiple connections and fare transfers. If you can go to the next slide, please. Cambridge was identified in the 2021 feasibility study commissioned by this council, that Cambridge is the only urban municipality in Ontario with more than 100,000 people with no passenger rail service. Now, when you think about that, obviously LRT Phase 2 would solve some of that. However, what I would argue is that you would reduce the quantity of cars on the road, have stronger economic benefits for the region and for Cambridge in particular, by actually prioritizing and making sure that we speed up the development of a Cambridge GO station, hopefully in tandem with the Breslau GO station, which I know is also under consideration. If you can go to the next slide for me, please. I know it's going to be hard for you to read on the slide, but hopefully you have it there on a computer or in front of your screen. But in that feasibility study, there's lots of things presented in there, but a 2021 council decision actually endorsed that feasibility study and tried to get it sent to staff to come back pending budget approval. Now, I haven't been as closely following it as I'm sure you have. However, I haven't actually heard an update on the Cambridge GO station situation since that time, and I would certainly love to hear more. If you actually take a look, we have a pre-approved 10,000 person master plan community that's co-located with it's really replacing this existing smart center with 10,000 homes in the future, and it would be co-located with the existing Pine Bush Ion station. So if you actually take the existing rail line that exists today up through Guelph and you add on to it, there's definitely a huge opportunity to make sure that we speed this up if you were to amend your motion slightly. If you can go to the next slide for me, please. So I would just propose that you amend your motion today by adding the 2 components in red, that basically to actually co-locate and plan for co-location of the GO train station with the LRT Phase 2 station. Both, they say, that it should be located at Pine Bush Ion station that currently exists today with GRT buses, but I would hope that you would ask staff to actually integrate that planning and what that might mean, because there's so many stops from an LRT Phase 2 perspective, that you might actually achieve GO station transit sooner than, and then can actually build on that with the LRT Phase 2 component. And finally, what's really important here, and I don't know if you know about it, I know I'm out of time, is that the Government of Ontario is just waiting on royal assent. It's actually passed its 3 readings. Bill 131 allows municipalities to create a little area for which you can charge an incremental development amount, a development charge fee, for development that's happening in and around a GO station area to then actually pay for that. So I would hope that you consider that today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Deutschman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nate, I want to compliment you, but I'll form it as a question, as Chair Redmond has taught me. Did you know that I appreciate you coming in and providing the information at the level that you do? And I'm hoping that that there's some further discussion later on about what you've suggested, because I know 10 years ago, Councillor Craig was very anxious to get a GO set up out of Cambridge, and this seems like an excellent idea. I hope he is noting it and is interested in what you had to say today. So thank you very much, Nate.
Thank you. Chair Redmond.
Thank you, Chair James. My question is actually one of staff, so if I could hold it.
Okay. Councillor Craig.
My question also was going to go to staff, but I think, Nate, we're on it to a certain extent, and I think one of the priorities of this regional council has to be GO transportation, because we have 150,000 people that have no access. And if I throw in North Dumfries, it's 160,000 people. And I think it's important that we move ahead. And I appreciate your continual commentary on the budget, on this and other things. I think it's very positive, and it's not often we get such positive things from members of the community. Today's a special day, obviously, with all the things we've heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nate. And yeah, we do need some GO for Cambridge. Absolutely. Okay, Chair Redmond, Councillor, or a question for staff.
Thank you very much, Chair James. I just wanted to ask staff their thoughts on this being included in the 2024 budget, if Cambridge GO feasibility is in it, and how it relates to the next phase of the ION.
Through the chair, so the study on the preliminary design for the connection between Cambridge and Guelph that study is underway. It was I think we got the consultant on board in the late summer last year, so it's already budgeted. So we'll bring it back to council in the spring with a first update, and then the final report will be ready for the fall of 2024. I'd say in terms of making the explicit connection with ION, I think right now we're advancing. We're keeping it in mind as part of the feasibility, but we don't want to tie in both projects too tightly because we also do not want to delay stage 2 LRT. As right now, I would say the Cambridge GO connection is still. It's still it's at an earlier stage, so we wouldn't want to wait for that to be able to advance the work on ION stage 2.
So if I can, Madam Chair, just I think this is a really great refinement, but I would not support anything that would slow down the next phase of LRT Phase 2. So thank you very much for coming in, and thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Oh, okay, I don't have her on here. Okay, Councillor Liggett? You're muted.
There we go. Thank you very much. I was hoping to connect with Nate there. So it's just a comment to Regional Council and to Nate that I recently, as of last week, sent off a letter to the province with regards to a GO station. So you'll all be getting a copy of that. And Nate, if you're still there, I've asked staff to send you also a copy of what I've sent off.
Thank you. Councillor McCabe.
My comment can wait until we bring it up, until it's at the staff report time.
Councillor Wolf.
Excuse me. Well, my comment to Nate was thank you, and I'm sort of interested in maybe the amendments of maybe thinking about that. I don't like the fact that we're saying that the LRT, the earliest is 12 years from now. So does that mean we wouldn't be doing anything with GO? And I do keep, when we're talking Breslau and we mention Cambridge, you say you're doing stuff, but unless we mention it, we're never hearing anything about it. So I think the idea of a report and us hearing much more about the possibility of GO between Guelph and Cambridge is there, because, in our discussions in transportation, basically I'm not hearing about it. So I think I would be sort of in favor of the amendments that were proposed.
Okay. All right.
Which we can deal with when the motion comes, but.
Okay, I know we have this item up on the ION item in about 5 minutes or so. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
Conscious of staying on focus to the last delegation. Councillor Hunick, do you have a comment regarding the last delegation, or is it a question for staff?
In line with the delegation and with what Pam has stated and what Chair Edmund has stated, I'm not in favor of delaying the LRT to Cambridge, but at the same time, it makes a lot of sense for those locations to coincide. And so I'm wondering, maybe this comes up in the next report, but by how much it would delay the LRT to ensure that it coincides with GO.
Okay, thank you. So I have not had a chance to review the motions. What I would suggest, and Nathan, have you sent your presentation to clerks? Can that be just circulated, clerks, to council, just so everyone can see that? I don't think we all had time to really look at that fully. Is it on? Okay, it's on the addendum. Okay, I didn't see that. All right. Oh, Councillor Foxton?
Thank you. And through the chair, I believe an amendment to a motion has to come from a councillor. Thank you.
Okay, so we are now going on to the consent agenda. If you wish to remove an item from the consent agenda, please indicate so now, as we will not take questions on consent agenda items unless requested to be moved to the regular agenda. Items listed on consent agenda will be dealt with in one motion. Are there any items that any councillors wish to remove? Okay, seeing none, I need a mover for that. Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Shantz. We will now vote in e-scribe. Councillor Liggett, are you on the call to vote?
Yes, I am. I put my thumb up already. I see it's gone from the screen though. I had my camera on and I put my thumb up. I'll do it again so you can see it. Got it?
Okay, it's carried. Thank you. We didn't get it, but it's carried.
Yeah,
We got your vote.
yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we'll now move to the regular agenda. Item 7.1, strategic priority, homes for all. I'll call on Commissioner Regier to introduce the report. Staff are available for questions as well.
Thank you very much, Chair James. Here we have a report that outlines a brownfield incentive program tax incremental grant for a project in Cambridge at 201-217 Hespeler Road. The value of this grant is $1.3 million, and it will be released as a tax incremental grant over the subsequent years. The project will facilitate, the remediation will facilitate the development of several hundred housing units on a contaminated site. Council recently received some information about the structure of this grant program. It's been extremely successful at facilitating the development and remediation of contaminated sites across the region, and it's something that staff are fully in support of.
Any questions from councillors? Seeing none, I need a mover. Councillor Foxton and a seconder, Councillor Erb. Now you will now be prompted to vote in e-scribe. Okay, that is carried. Moving on to item 7.1.2, I'll call on Commissioner Getsky. This is for the Stage 2 Ion South Terminal Preferred Location staff presentation.
Thank you, Chair. And I'll just call on Matthew O'Neill to proceed with the presentation and give you the results of the evaluation of the 4 terminals that we conducted following Council's direction in May of this year.
Boom. I'm just going to take this staple out to minimize a little paper noise here. Good morning, Council, and through you, Chair. Thank you very much for having me today. I will be presenting the results of the Stage 2 Ion South Terminal evaluation process and presenting the preferred location for the South Terminal. So I will show you what we evaluated, what criteria we used, what the evaluation results are. I will also present and summarize the next steps and schedule for the design of the South Terminal and the initial business case. Next slide, please. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. This map shows the 4 alternative locations that we evaluated as circles and their associated routes as dashed lines. You'll notice that they all end at the same common point at the Beverly and Dundas roundabout. We have 3 locations in downtown Cambridge, T1, T2, and T3, and 1 location outside the core, T4. T1 and T4 have 1 station, so the terminal, and T2 and T3 have 2 stations, a terminal and a second one at Wellington and Maine. The evaluation addresses both the benefits and impacts of each terminal, but also their route. So when you see the results, it's for the terminal itself, but also the route. Next slide. Excuse me. So here we have the evaluation criteria. This is what we used. These are the criteria metrics in 4 categories: transportation and mobility, social, cultural, natural environment, and economic. The criteria are meant to help figure out which location achieves the project's goals. It has the greatest transportation and land use benefits and has the lowest impacts and costs. It's not really a math equation, A plus B equals C. The criteria are a bit like puzzle pieces, so each piece on its own does not give us the answer, but if we step back and look at them all together, a picture emerges. Next slide. The evaluation results were developed using the evaluation criteria with input from the Technical Agency Committee, or TAC. The TAC includes representatives from the region of Waterloo, the City of Cambridge, as well as the Grand River Conservation Authority. The results for each metric are expressed as a number of check marks from 1 to 4, more check marks being better, meaning more benefits or fewer impacts. The criteria are not weighted, so we have not set how much one category criteria means compared to another. They have to be taken as a whole together. The preferred terminal, T1, is shaded in blue and marked with an asterisk. For transportation and mobility, the big takeaways are that a terminal in downtown Cambridge performs best because it is centered in the middle of the bus feeder network. There is existing density, and where there is a hub and spoke transit system that can more effectively feed into the LRT line from both directions equally. With T1, there is ample room for buses and space to make great transfers, which is key. T1 is very accessible by walking and cycling, and further contributes to the great walkability of downtown Cambridge. The short, straight, off-street route to Ainsley with 1 station provides the quickest trip time, the fewest impacts to traffic operations, the fewest engineering challenges, and the best operation for trains. Next slide, please. The social cultural criteria address land use, property, and cultural heritage. T1, T2, and T3 serve more commercial, industrial, recreational, and institutional destinations. T2 and T3 rated slightly better for destinations because the extra station means more places are within walking distance of a station. T1, T2, and T3 all share a portion of route which runs along an old rail line. That helps those alternatives to impact fewer properties. The total number of properties impacted, both partial and full buyouts, are 37 for T1, 49 for T2, 52 for T3, and 76 for T4. T1 has the fewest full buyouts at 6, T1 has 13, T3 has 20, T4 has 23 full buyouts, mainly due to the widening of Dundas Street to fit the LRT Rapid Way. T1, T2, and T3 are consistent with existing land use policies, while T4 would require some planning policies to be revised to support that location. The Ainsley site, T1, impacts the fewest properties, and along with T3, touches the fewest sites with cultural heritage value. T1 has 1 station, while T2 and T3 have 2 in the study area. 2 stations would improve pedestrian and cyclist direct access somewhat, but at 500 meters apart, the 2 stations, the benefit of the 2 stations is somewhat limited because of the overlap of that walkable radius. We expect that 2 stations would not significantly increase the amount of development in downtown Cambridge as compared to 1 station, so we will get just as much development we expect in the long term with a single terminal station. Next slide. Here we have the results for the natural environment and economic criteria. Because all the alternatives are in developed urban areas, the natural environment criteria were not a big factor overall. There were big differences in the area of track or station in the floodplain, but none of the locations would increase flooding. The risk of flooding to the LRT system is considered acceptable for all of the locations. Although the Dundas Street route crosses Soper Park and Mill Creek, all of the alternatives could be designed to limit or eliminate impacts to significant natural features. The economic benefits results were mixed. There is a greater concentration of employment in downtown Cambridge, as reflected in T1, T2, and T3 results. T2 and T3 covered a larger area of employment within 800 meters of the 2 stations. The opportunities for intensification and redevelopment were rated better for T2 and T3 due to having 2 stations. The area around T4 has large parcels and large parking lots, which make for good opportunities for redevelopment, so that fared better in that regard. That area may or may not be suitable ultimately for the high densities needed to support LRT. The cost differences between the alternatives were significant. Keep in mind, this is very high level cost estimating, and just for comparison purposes, the estimated cost for T1 is $137 million, for T2 and T3, $173 million, and for T4, $245 million. Next slide. Based on the evaluation results, the preferred location identified by the project team is T1 at the Ainsley Transit Terminal site. The portion of the route between the Beverly and Dundas roundabout and Main Street remains unchanged from the previously endorsed route. Next slide. So in conclusion, the Ainsley Terminal site, T1, is preferred over Bruce Street, T2, Wellington and Concession, T3, and Dundas and Main, T4, because the Ainsley location is the most cost-effective location that supports the region's planned growth well into the future. It provides the best trip time and the best opportunity for a highly integrated terminal with great transfers. While T2 on Bruce and T3 on Concession can fit a second station, that second station has only limited value, being only 500 meters from the terminal. The second station also doesn't help us enhance bus transfers by distributing them. It adds delay and cost. The Ainsley site can store extra trains beyond the station or off the main line. This will improve operational reliability and help reduce operating costs. The Ainsley location has the lowest impact to traffic and touches the fewest properties. Next slide. If council endorses the recommended south terminal location, the project team will develop several layouts or design options for the terminal. There is more than one way to connect LRT to buses and to configure a passenger transfer facility. The different layouts will juggle multiple priorities like transfers, bus stop capacity, road access, and train storage. We have to connect people, buses, and trains while managing crossings and conflicts. In addition to the terminal layouts, we will gather feedback from the public on the evaluation criteria for these designs. After reviewing comments received, the project team will complete an evaluation and identify a preferred terminal design. A summary of public comments, the evaluation results, and the recommended design will then be presented to Regional Council, anticipated for spring 2024. Next slide. So in terms of the business case, the initial business case that we're targeting early 2024 to kick off, as directed by Regional Council, the initial business case scope will include several project alternatives for comparison. The IBC will compare an LRT extension from Fairway of varying lengths. So from Fairway to the Pine Bush Station, compared to going to the Delta Station, and compared to going all the way to downtown Cambridge. It will also compare an extension of the LRT system to a separate standalone system that operates just in Cambridge and is not connected to our existing LRT system. And finally, it will compare LRT to BRT. Next slide. Thank you. So this summarizes the timing for all of these activities. We expect to bring the terminal layouts or design alternatives and the evaluation criteria to the public in early 2024. We would then gather those comments, complete an evaluation, and bring the evaluation results and a preferred terminal design to council by spring of 2024. We are looking to retain a consultant early in the new year for the initial business case, and that's going to take somewhere around 1.5 to 2 years, so the end of 2025 to complete that initial business case. It does include a small amount of design and significant additional cost estimating for the BRT. Next slide. So that is my presentation for today. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. We do have a few questions for you. I will start with Councillor Hunick.
Thank you, Chair James. Thank you for that excellent informative presentation. It seems like T1 is the most overwhelmingly positive option, which I'm happy to hear about. I'm just wondering, combining this report with the previous delegation, do we have any data or evidence to the idea of combining the LRT station with a potential GO station? I realize the timelines aren't going to line up necessarily, but if we wanted to make room for both, how possible is that?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Great question. I think it's a great vision to imagine in the future having LRT and a GO train coming to Cambridge. As a Cambridge resident, I'd love that. What I would say is that both are great projects and both are being advanced and studied on their own independently, but I am involved in the GO Train project, and I can tell you that the stations are compatible. We can make them work together. So one does not preclude the other. I would also say it's with the currently ongoing initial business case for that GO Train station, it looks like it doesn't necessarily need LRT. I mean, there is synergy. I mean, ultimately the idea would be you could take a bus to connect to LRT and you could take LRT to connect to GO Train. So they can work together. They are compatible. They're both being advanced. And I don't think that it's necessary to sort of tack on GO Train to the Stage 2 on an initial business case, especially given that we currently have an initial business case going on for the GO Train.
I agree with you, and I also like that you used the magic word, compatibility. That's a good word for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Deutschmann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. And since you're on both projects, you are definitely the guy to ask questions about this. So I'm thinking about Kitchener, where we have the central corridor hub, the central transit station, and there's land set aside, and we're waiting to develop that. Couldn't we just acquire sufficient land in the area of the suggested GO LRT hub and then deal with whatever we need to deal with at a future date, but start planning to have sufficient land available so that rather than asking people to take LRT and then a bus to a GO station, you're going to take LRT to a GO station, which obviously is the preferred method of doing that. So is it possible to acquire additional land in the areas where we could combine the two together and then still progress with the LRT and then add the GO when we can?
Through the chair, I think what we can do, and maybe let us come back with a report on the GO rail feasibility in the spring, and following that, maybe we can look into bringing to council the option of acquiring land as part of that project. I think we wouldn't want to extend land acquisitions on a very broad corridor around the LRT. The LRT there's a station planned at Pine Bush, so that's where the connection can be made between the LRT and the GO in the future if both projects proceed. I would say I would. So there's if that's okay with you from a timeline perspective, let's wait for that spring report on the GO rail connection so we can really see if we need to be more aggressive in terms of land acquisitions for the GO project.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. I wasn't sure who was responding because I heard voices, but I didn't see the presenter's lips moving. But anyway, I'd be happy to have that as a direction to staff to take a look at the possibility, because from my perspective, that's not delaying the actual LRT project. It's just ensuring that we've got sufficient property so that we're able to take that next step, just like we have. How many years now has it been that the central transit hub has been sitting there with all that land and no action taken? But we ensured that we were acquiring, I believe, that property as we were developing the LRT. So I'd be happy to have that as a direction of staff if there's consensus amongst other councillors. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see anybody opposed to that. So we'll add that for direction to staff to come back in the spring. Okay, we're good. All right. Councillor Wolf.
Through you, Madam Chair. And I can never lose an opportunity to point out that Matt was one of my students. And so this is the brilliance that comes from Cambridge and Lincoln Avenue. So in terms of the two amendments we saw to the motion, what is Bill 131? Do you know? Or how that would affect us or could affect us? The impact of Bill 131 on improving regional transit connections.
Through the chair. So Bill 131 is it's a recently passed provincial bill that enables municipalities to add development charges specific to that would help funding GO stations. So I think it's a bit of a next step for the province in terms of finding mechanisms to fund new GO stations. We know for the last 5 years they've been working on a transit-oriented development model where the developer on site would fund part of the infrastructure of the GO station. There, the idea is through a specific development charge that the basis for that contribution is wider. It doesn't have to be only the developer that's immediately on the station site, but it can be a broader area around the station, and they can contribute to station funding. So that's what that bill is about.
Okay. Could we use it to buy land for a GO station?
So that's a great question. I see Graham. I know that traditionally the province has been very, very careful on not allowing these things to be relative to land purchases. So they usually exclude land acquisitions from these mechanisms. And I would say one of the challenges with applying Bill 131 to the Pine Bush area is that today, the rail connection between Cambridge and Guelph is a private CP connection. There's no GO service running along it, and so I'd say making the case for a GO station there when there's no service that's yet foreseen, or if you ask the ministry or if you ask Metrolinx today, they don't have a formal plan yet to bring service to Cambridge. I think that would be a bit of a challenge, but I'll let Graham maybe chime in.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So my understanding is that the new station contribution fee, I think is what they're calling it, is really can be only dedicated towards the construction costs of a new station. I think, as Commissioner Getzke just suggested, it would be excluding some other costs, like acquiring the land would probably be outside that scope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wolf. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you very much, through you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Just a few comments and a couple questions. Bill 31, I think it's a fairly charitable way of describing it. I thought, when I read about Bill 31, or 131, I thought it's more provincial downloading. Like traditionally, the province through Metrolinx would pay for the construction of GO stations, and so now they are quote unquote enabling municipalities to pay for it, which is, just additional words for saying it's more responsibility coming to the property tax levy to fund these things. So anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest, but put that on the table. Just on the on the discussion around the GO station and the direction for the staff report. I'm just a little concerned that we're focusing on the Pine Bush LRT station because for years there's sort of been talk of like, what about connecting more directly to Milton? Because the Milton line comes, I think, as far as Cambridge for their layover stations and that. And so I used to work at the town of Milton, and we were having discussions when I was still there about developing a business case that may enable, more feasibility along that line. So I'm hoping through this direction that you just received to look at the GO train stations that you would include that as well, and not just focus on the Pine Bush station, because there could be that possibility to connect with the Milton line rather than the Kitchener line. So just wanted to add that. And then I also, just thinking about the LRT stations, one of the challenges that I've seen in Waterloo, and I mean, we love the LRT in Waterloo, you just heard lots of delegations last week talking about it, so don't get me wrong, but we have experienced in at least one of our more equity deserving neighborhoods, which has a lot of residential and a recreation facility right there, that the LRT stop kind of leaps, like goes, there's an LRT stop about 300 meters or maybe farther before it and then after it. So it's actually missed a residential community. So I'm just curious about being mindful of that as you develop this business case and as you do these consultations about how you're bringing the equity and access conversations into the consultations that you're doing, because we continue to hear about, I think, what was a bit of a missed opportunity in Waterloo, specifically with the community where an LRT station possibly should have been located. So that's a bit of a rambling question. Just wondering how you're including the equity and access in this development of the business case and the ongoing consultations.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I would say on multiple levels. At a high level, I think the project generally, generally improves access and transportation choice. It is directly connected to the ability of people to get around in a cost-effective way, in a sustainable way. Building more let's say affordable or inexpensive homes on the fringes might sound great, but if it's low density, detached, or even semi-detached or row homes, it's very difficult to serve with transit and other services and have jobs nearby as well. And so I think at that high level, locating a varied type of housing and smaller units and a range of housing in the urban core where there are jobs, where there are destinations, where there's services, and you can more quickly get around by affordable transit, I think is directly relates to access and equity. From the very beginning of this project, we have recognized the value of affordable homes. So there are areas where if we went down the middle of a street, we would have had to acquire essentially all the properties on one side. And sometimes that's unavoidable, but we recognize that these homes may not look like, let's say they're not $1 million homes, but they have value and they are worth preserving. And so there were areas where we purposely avoided doing that because we could preserve those properties and those homes. I would say we can definitely also look at some of those metrics in the business case. The region doesn't have a business case standard and explicit metrics right now, but that's definitely something that we could look at in the business case as to, how are we serving the community. I think it's, it's a bit of a balance between what's there now and then what also can be built in the future. And I think with the MTSAs, for example, the major transit station areas, we're working with planning, and I think the hope is that we would be able to secure some affordable units, a certain proportion of affordable units for developments within the MTSAs to help sort of address some of that issue. In terms of the station locations, I think once we have the initial business case done, I think that's going to be a great conversation to have about, does that station position make sense? Right now, it's, we've looked at the station locations and potential infill stations, and I think the ones that we have make the most sense, but it's definitely a conversation we can have.
Okay, thank you. Look forward to seeing how you build that into it.
Yeah, I just want to, Matthew, do you want to just chime in here as well? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to add to that, I think following Council's adoption of the strategic plan and the emphasis on equity that we've heard over the last year, we've been starting to build to strengthen our competencies around and capabilities around transportation equity. So we're trying right now. We're building a partnership with a network of both academics and professionals that's called Mobilizing Justice to build that competency within the teams and be able to infuse it through our business case methodologies and our studies. So so I think we'll be in a good spot to have a more analytical capabilities to directly address transportation equity questions, both in this business case as well as in the integrated mobility plan, for example.
Thank you. I also think that part of the public consultation will be key with this as well. And I think we need to also be mindful of that we are contributing to our overall transportation system. So part of addressing some of the areas where it may be equity deserving, lower income, whatever the case may be, is how we're including and making our transit system more efficient altogether. So not removing routes, but actually how we're providing more routes to offset depending on where locations are. So lots of work, but I think that public consultation piece it will be key, but also looking at the ways our system is integrated all together to address some of those challenges or barriers. Okay, Councillor Craig.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would ask for a little bit of leeway today, if I may, with regards to my comments. I want to couple on to Councillor McCabe's comments about the Milton line, because I think it's important to understand to some extent the history of the lack of GO train to Cambridge. As in 2010, there were discussions with CP Rail and the province to bring GO train from Milton directly to Cambridge to Franklin Boulevard, Savage Drive area. And those discussions, we had the documents which included where the station would be, 2 options for 500 cars to park, and the costs, which I think at the time were around $70 million to do this. It did not get supported by the region at that time. And subsequently to those discussions, we didn't get support through the years to continue with that proposal. So the idea then was, what do we do for Cambridge with regards to GO train? It was Cambridge Council brought up here in terms of making the suggestion that we look at the Guelph line. So that's where we are today. So Councillor Wolf talks about the sensitivity of not talking about GO train to Cambridge. And it's been like that for years. And I think the GO train discussions that are ongoing now with regards to the Guelph line are highly important to people in Cambridge. And I think once we get the recommendations from staff in the spring, I think we have to make it a top priority. As I said earlier, We have 150,000 people don't have access immediately to LRT, although planned, and don't have access to GO Train. And I think that has to be emphasized. The GO Train from Cambridge directly to Milton to Union Station, I think was 80 minutes. And it was very unfortunate that didn't go ahead. So here we are today, and I just want council to understand the sensitivity around GO Train discussions regarding Cambridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Craig. And I remember being on the staff side and you very adamantly advocating for GO in Cambridge many years ago. So, well noted. Thank you. Councillor Deutschman.
Thank you, Chair James. Two things. First, on the Cambridge GO issue, a staff report was completed in 2018 or 2019 that clearly indicated that the Cambridge to Guelph option was the better option over the Milton option. And I appreciate what Councillor Craig is saying, but this issue has been examined considerably. And I think that we should continue to work on and build on that work of Cambridge to Guelph. I know as former CAO was a strong believer in that option as well. My question, though, is just from a planning perspective, and again, lessons from phase one. Two things: affordable housing and bike lanes, which for some people felt like was a missed opportunity when we were tearing up all these roads and replacing infrastructure underneath, which was very important. But what were the opportunities that were missed in terms of improving the bike infrastructure? And so I'm just wondering if Commissioner Gitka or Commissioner Regier could comment on, because I recall that there was a significant planning document that was put together surrounding the stations in phase one and guidelines on planning. So I'm just curious whether that's going to be on the radar. I know we have a lot of time to develop that, but I'm hoping that those are two areas that are going to be given more consideration and lessons learned from phase one. If I could hear from someone about that.
Commissioner Regier will respond.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Deutschman. As noted, there was a significant community building strategy that was developed as part of the first phase of the ION project. It helped to inform all of the work that was done on the design of the corridor, the MTSA planning that's underway, and lots of the intensification that's taking place so far. That work has also informed the ongoing secondary planning work that the City of Cambridge is undertaking in the corridor, which is addressing all of those issues, the access to the station areas, the intensification process, the visualizing of built form, the integration of multi-use trails into the network, and so on. I know that the work that Matthew O'Neill and his team has undertaken includes detailed assessment of the various rights-of-way profiles that will include pedestrian and cycling infrastructure, et cetera. So I think that we're really well positioned now to leverage that experience from phase one and get a terrific built form that meets the needs of the citizens of Cambridge through this process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion in front of us. I will be looking for a mover. Chair Redmond, I have you next on the queue.
I'm prepared to move the motion.
Excellent. And Councillor Wolf, you're going to second that? Okay. You will be prompted in eScribe. Oh, Councillor Erb.
Thank you, Chair James. I think this is another significant step in getting the LRT to Cambridge, and I hope the citizens of Cambridge and the region see this as an early Christmas gift. I think it's a major step in connecting our three urban centers. The city of Cambridge has been waiting for this for a long time, and it's something I think they deserve. We heard from representatives from the community this morning how important it is to them, and it's good to hear that recognition. There's often been this conversation of the 401 being some kind of a barrier between the south and the north, And let's hope this LRT is a significant piece in removing that barrier and that we're connecting our region from one end to the other. And so I'm delighted to see that this is going ahead, a major step. And it can't happen fast enough, I don't think. And the economic development that we've seen in Kitchener-Waterloo, you can see it emerging already in Cambridge. And so I think this is a win-win-win for both economic development, for moving citizens, for the environment, a variety of reasons. And I'm happy that this report has come back as it has, and I'm happy to support it.
Councillor Wolf.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank staff for their thorough report and the delegates for coming today and showing their support for the ION coming to Cambridge and ending at the Ainslie Street Terminal. This terminal, as staff report tells us, is the most economical, lowest impact on traffic opportunities, lowest travel time, works the best with local bus network, fewest properties are impacted, among many other things. Having the terminus at the Ainslie Street Station means a great deal to the residents, students, and businesses living in the vicinity of the Ainslie Street terminus. The O'Donovan director of the School of Architecture, Maya, wrote to us. She said, "Beyond our general support for the LRT, our School of Architectural community will benefit directly from a new station at the Ainslie Street Station. As a satellite campus over 30 kilometers from the U of W main campus, we see the LRT alleviating some of our challenges due to our location. Most students," unquote, "most students attending the university do not own cars and commute to the main campus for research using public transit. This takes them at least 90 minutes. To truly connect the region, we need quick, active transportation, which the LRT can provide." Remember the student the other night who delegated in praise of the ION and the fourplex? And when I asked her to present to the Cambridge City Council, she said, "No way, it would take me 2 hours to get there." For Cambridge residents trying to access centralized regional services, the courthouse, Camino Wellness Center, U of W or Laurier, and many other destinations in Kitchener and Waterloo, 90 to 120 minutes travel time on public transit is a barrier to accessing them. The Stage 2 ION could remove this barrier. There we go. I've heard from several businesses in the Gaslight District, on Main Street, the Hamilton Family Theatre, the Cambridge Mill, all who chose their locations with the promise of the LRT and the Southern Terminal in downtown Galt. Greg DeRocha, president of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, is a strong supporter of the LRT Stage 2. And Greg wrote, "The journey to this point has been long, comprehensive, and consultative. What we need now is action and delivery. T1 is the clear choice, as it has been from the start for many, many years." I agree with Greg, Maya, Dan, Brian, Tova, and Mackenzie, and staff that we need to move ahead with the business case for the LRT Stage 2 and the Southern Terminal be T1, the Ainslie Street Station. And I urge you all to support the motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Wolf. Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to remind everybody that T1 was not the original choice. It was changed because of new considerations that came forward, and that was because of a major landholder in the area. I also tell you that I will be supporting this today, even though I oppose this, the terminal in this particular location. I do believe it's a missed opportunity not to place something further down in the area, which is going to be our growth, where our major growth is going to happen. These things tend to be in areas of business and downtown cores, and I don't believe that that is necessarily the best placed place to put these in every given community. I am happy to see that there will finally be connectivity for Cambridge with the rest of the region, and I don't want to hold that up. My purpose was to have a second look at where that terminal would be. When I look at the costing for that, I don't think there was enough time for staff, and I thank staff for allowing me the ability to bring forward the fourth option. But I don't think that there was enough time to really look at a proper pathway for the LRT in the time frame in which that was given. We've had many years to look at the other directions for the LRT to go, and it wasn't given that same consideration this time around, even though I do understand that there is a timing issue here. So I just want to put all that on the table, that I want this to be a unanimous vote. And I think that we've got that around the table, and I firmly am behind that unanimous vote.
Thank you, Councillor Liggett. Councillor Craig.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that I'll be supporting the motion. My concerns along the way have been regarding timing and costs. And I just want the public to be aware of that where there are obstacles as we pursue this journey. So I agree with everything that Councillor Wolf has said. We don't always agree. People know that, but I describe our relationship as like a troubled marriage. We do get along most of the time, but she has made a good case today, and I'm totally supportive. And I'm glad to see that all three of us are heading in the right direction. All three of us from Cambridge. Thank you.
I just have a point of clarification. Today we carpooled, and I'm driving him home.
Uh-oh. Better buckle up. But we're going to go to the vote next, but I do want to say that I think, Councillor Erb, you raised something. This is a major piece to moving Ariane Stage 2 forward, and it is significant. It is significant for a community. It's significant for residents. Staff putting in all the work, working collaboratively with the City of Cambridge to get to potential outcomes and start the business case for this. And to I'm really taking a second here because there are people who came in and delegated and spoke in favor both today, both last week. And I mean, it shows the impact that this is having on the community. And being here years ago when there was lots of skepticism around Ion Stage 1 and seeing how it may not be perfect, but it's benefiting our residents, it shows just how much it's needed and how it will complement this region. So maybe one day we get it out into the townships, but I think it's something that we need to really pause and just say that yes, we're moving forward. It may not be fast enough, but we are moving forward collectively right now today on Ion Stage 2. So with that, I will have you all vote and e-scribe. That is unanimously passed. One big happy family here at the region. Okay, all right. So it's carried. Moving on, information, correspondence. We did receive correspondence, as Chair Redmond alluded to earlier, from the Cambridge and Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. Council tracking list. I think it's there for information. Any other business? Seeing none. Okay, our next meeting will be January 16th, 2024. Oh, Chair Redmond, you had something to say? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Chair James. I just wanted to go back to the letter that Councillor Wolf did a really good job of filling an excerpt from, to say that it is from both chambers of commerce. So I just would like to underscore that all the delegations weren't from Cambridge. It's great to hear from Cambridge, but what's good for Cambridge is good for the region. What's good for the region is good from Cambridge. So this is a very important piece of our economic development, our planning for region-wide. So I'm really pleased to see this move forward.
Thank you, Chair Edmund. Okay, so next meeting, Planning and Works, January 16th, 2024. We will now start a vote. We're going to go into close, but I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor McCabe. So we'll now vote to go into closed. Do I have to adjourn? Okay, I have to do that right now. Okay. Don't close your computers yet. Still have another. Just Councillor McCabe. Oh, sorry. Okay, so that is carried. I will need a mover and a seconder to adjourn the Planning and Works. So Councillor Foxton, Councillor Salonen, and we'll now start a vote on e-scribe. Okay, that is carried. I'll see you in closed.